I do apologize for my iffy singing voice, but we all suffer together.
Yes, it's good.
I'm good?
No, Samantha's good.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Well, they're doing good job.
Okay. All right, everybody. We are gonna get started so we don't end up being here too late. Let me fix my notes. We're gonna start with a resounding chorus of Hine Matovu because it's my favorite song. And everyone, that's on page 4. When you're ready, just give me eyeballs. All right, I see a couple eyeballs. Page 4. All right. Whoop. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Hine Matovu manai, Shabbat inamya. Hine Matovu manai, Shabbat inamya. Hine Matovu inamya. Hine Matovu inamya. Hine Matovu manai, Shabbat inamya. Hine Matovu manai, Shabbat inamya. Beauteous, that was wonderful. Join me on page 6. And we're going to do the responsive reading on the top. I'll read the first part, you read the second part, and we'll continue doing that all the way down. So, we Jews have come together to strengthen our bonds with our people Israel. Like Jews of every generation past, we celebrate the grandeur of creation. Like Jews of every age, we echo our people's ancient call for justice. We are Jews, and each of us is unique. We stand apart and alone, with bitter feelings and insights. And yet we are not entirely alone and separate, for we are the children of one people and one heritage. We are one in search of life's meaning. All of us have known despair and exaltation. All have borne burdens. All have moments of weakness, times of strength. All sing songs of sorrow and love. Our congregation is a stronghold of hope and inspiration, teaching us the holiness of life and inspiring us love for all humanity. In this congregation, in the presence of Adonai, may our hearts be purified to worship together in sincerity and truth. All right, you don't have to turn the page, but on page 7, if you look at the bottom left, I'm really liking this responsive thing, so we're going to keep going with it. I long to change the world, but I rarely appreciate things as they are. I know how to give, but I don't always know how to receive. I know how to keep busy, but I don't always know how to be still. I talk, but I don't always listen. I look, but I don't always see. I yearn to succeed, but I often forget what is truly important. Teach me, God, to slow down. May this Shabbat revive me. May it lead me to wisdom, to holiness, to peace, and to you. All righty, we're going to go to page 10 together. And would anyone like to volunteer to help out with candles? And if you need a hair tie to not burn your hair, I have one. Thank you. Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher tivshanim b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu. Amen. Thank you. All righty. Turn to page 14, please. And does someone want to read the first paragraph and then a different person read the second paragraph? Or if no one wants to, someone can just do one. Totally up to who wants to do what. Beautiful. You get paragraph 1. Who wants paragraph 2? Oh, sorry, you can be
No,
next.
you-
You're number 2.
Our working days are long, filled with concern and cares, with pretending to be what we are not. May this Shabbat give us the strength to see ourselves and our tasks with a heart and spirit renewed by our worship together. And with this renewed energy, may we dedicate the spirit of shalom into our lives and into our communities.
May we have the insight to help those in need, the perspective to look beyond ourselves, and the willingness to help create a society that respects and cares for the world and God's creations. May we appreciate all that we have, grateful hearts, and have the strength to bear our burdens.
Thank you. All right, we're going to do Wahadodi on page 16 and 17. We're going to do the 1st, 2nd, 5th, and 9th, and I will let you all know I learned a very different tune, so you're going to have to help me stay on the correct tune, because it's always that little thing in the back of your head saying, switch it up. So help me stick with the right tune. Everyone ready? 1, 2, 3. Wahadodi. Venesha.
I don't know what melody we're doing.
Do the melody you feel most comfortable with, and will sound beautiful. Okay, it's a different one I'm used to.
This is the one that doesn't have verses. Shoot.
We're really struggling today. That's okay. It's Friday. There we go. Verse 5. Verse 9. Beautiful, beautiful, everybody. You may be seated if you'd like. You could stand if you feel it. No pressure. But if you could turn to page 19, we are all, well, I kind of want us to all read together the English of the psalm. So, the righteous shall flourish like palms, grow tall as the cedars of Lebanon. Rooted in the house of our God, they shall flourish in the courts of our Eternal. They shall still be productive in old age. They shall be vigorous and strong, proclaiming that God is my rock in whom there is no wrong. All right. So we are going to now do page 21, and we're going to do the popcorn thing. It brings me lots of joy. Who would like to start the popcorn? Well, it's more like going in a row. So whoever starts, just keep going. And everyone does the 2 sentences or so going down. Who would like to start? All right.
Seeking answers.
I have lived alone chasing dreams.
I have tried to prove my worth to worthless judges.
I have cried my pain, silence grieves.
I have sometimes served a touch of loving kindness.
That I wandered in open fields of grace.
I have been released by the swamp.
I have touched the western wall, the holy place.
I have soared alone above the cloud heaven.
I have walked the deep, dark tunnels of the earth.
I have dined with mystics and with prophets.
I have heard the pain of woman giving birth.
I have been sought after as a teacher.
I have been refused the laurel wreath.
I have heard the thunder blast of sunrise.
I have watched the final touch of death.
I have played the rules set by the master.
Though often I didn't understand the game.
I have worn more masks than I remember.
I have been a face without a move.
And when, like you, I ask the final question,
Who on earth am I supposed to be?
I always come full circle to the answer.
Me.
Always me. Ah, gotta love Leonard Nimoy. All right, so we're going to go to page 25 for the first portion. If you can stand, that would be lovely to join me standing. If not, no pressure either way. All right. You can now be seated. No need to stand for longer than you'd like. So I was going to attempt the Hebrew, and I can still if you guys want me to, but we could also read it all together in English so we're all included. Did we have a, yeah, I think that's better just so we all can get a part in this. So, at the bottom of page 25, praised are you, our eternal God, sovereign of the universe, who with your word brings on the evening twilight, and with your wisdom opens the gate of the heavens. With understanding, you order the cycles of time, and vary the seasons, setting the stars in their courses in the sky according to your will. You create day and night, rolling away the light before the darkness, and the darkness before the light. You cause the day to fade and the nights to fall, dividing darkness and light. God of life and sovereign of the heavens, may you rule over us forever. Pray for you, all the night, breathing upon the evening twilight. All right, turn to page 26 for the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Vaed. Then we'll go right into the V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai b'kol levavecha u'b'kol nafshecha u'b'kol yodeka v'hayu hadvarim ha'ela ha'anu ki misavecha hayom ha'levavecha v'shinatam v'necha v'dibatam v'shitecha v'techa v'letecha v'derech v'shofecha v'shnatam v'yodayedecha v'hayu l'totavot b'neinecha v'ktavtam al mitzvot b'techa v'v'yisharecha. All right, on page 27, we're going to do the Mi Kamocha. Again, this is a tune that I learned differently, and we don't do this one enough here for me to know the tune you guys prefer. So if someone else would like to take the lead on that one so we don't end up on a very strange path, I would very much appreciate someone starting for me. Mi Kamocha, Mi Kamocha, Mi Kamocha, no, All right, thank you everybody for your assistance. It is one of my favorite songs, so I hate to skip it if we don't have to. All right, we're going to skip on over to page 30, and we're going to do Vishamru. When everyone's eyeballs around me, I know we can go. Thank you. All right. So, Vishamru B'nai Yisrael et HaShabbat et HaShabbat Ledoretam Berit Olam Vishamru B'nai Yisrael et HaShabbat et HaShabbat Ledoretam Berit Olam B'nai Yisrael Vishamru B'nai Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat Ledoretam Berit Olam Ki she'arim asa Adonai et hashamayim et haaretz Vishamru B'nai Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat Ledoretam Berit Olam Ulayom Hashvi Shabbat Vayinachash Shabbat Vayinachash Shabbat Vayinachash Vishamru B'nai Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat Ledoretam Berit Olam. All right, we're going to turn to page 32, Bakati Kaddish. If you would like to rise, you are again welcome to. Yikada v'yikada Shomei Rabbah Gama Divra Kirite v'yamlik Malchute V'chayet Om Lo Yomeno V'chayet Kol Beit Yisrael V'chayet Ubizman Kari Bimu Amen Echmei Rabba Mekora Olam Yomei Omaya Yisbrak Vishtabak Vipa'ar Vidramam Vitnase Vayit Hadar Vayit Hale Vayit Halal Shemed Kudusha Bariku Ilmam Kol Birchata V'Shirata Tush Birchata B'Ne'emasa Dami Ramiyama Bimeru Amen. All right, so we can continue standing, and we're going to do the Amidah, what you can do on your own. You can do the traditional, or if you slip a few pages past, there is an alternative. When you are finished, sit down, or sit down whenever you feel like it. You join us on page 42 for Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom Bimrama, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'yimru, V'yimru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimrama, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'yimru, V'yimru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. All right, I have it on good authority that we have a lovely speaker. Unless I'm off on my timing here.
Sorry? Yes.
That's it. We have a lovely speaker who's going to come and give us a fabulous Shabbat spiel.
Thank you for the opportunity. I apologize in advance, this is going to be long. I had time to write it, but not to edit it. This week's Torah portion is Ki Tavo, when you get there. There refers to the land of Israel. Moses is giving instructions to the Israelites right before they part ways. Moses into the mountains to die, the Israelites into the land of Israel. These instructions, the instructions in the portion begin with the following. When the people harvest their first crops in the land of Israel, they are to take a portion of them to Jerusalem for a holy offering and declare this. My father was a wandering Aramaean, and he went to Egypt with a small number of people, and he became a mighty and numerous nation. The Egyptians treated us cruelly and imposed hard labor on us. So we cried out to Adonai, the God of our fathers, and God heard our voice and saw our oppression. And God brought us out of Egypt and brought us to this place and gave it to us. Now I have brought the first of the fruits of the ground which you, God, have given to me. Each individual makes this speech to the high priest, who clearly already knows all this. Why? According to Rabbi David Foreman, who founded and runs the Aleph Beta Torah Study website, the speech marks each individual claiming their own personal space in Jewish history. Here I am, God, the fulfillment of those promises you made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Took a while, but you kept your promise. That's beautiful to me. Each of us has our own place in Jewish history. And it's important to notice it, to honor God who gave it to us, and to commit to being our own link between the past and the future of the Jewish people. So what is our place today in Pittsburgh in 2023? What is our place in Jewish history? I've thought a lot about this, and I think one important piece of the Jewish history being written today is the profound rise in anti-Semitism. How can we take note and honor God with how we respond to this widening threat? The Anti-Defamation League provides statistics of anti-Semitic incidents reported each year in the United States, ranging from vandalism and leaflets of anti-Semitic tropes to verbal harassment to physical attacks usually on Orthodox and therefore visible Jews, as well as, of course, attacks on synagogues and Jewish schools. In 2020, there were 2,028 such incidents, an average of about 5.5 events per day. In 2021, there were 2,717 such incidents, an increase of about 34% from 2020, an average of over 7 events a day. In 2022, there were 3,697 incidents, another increase of 36%, an average of over 10 events per day. For comparison, hate crimes in the US for all groups of hated folks increased 12% from 2020 to 2021. We're way above average. Unfortunately, their 21-22 data about the general hate crimes is kind of questionable, so I'm not including it. In addition, the attitudes of average people who are not committing anti-Semitic acts are becoming more anti-Jew. That is, the tropes that we are used to from the fringes of society are increasingly mainstream. This data comes also from the ADL, and I think it's 2022 data. 70% of Americans believe that Jews stick together more than other Americans. 39% of our fellow citizens believe that Jews are more loyal to Israel than to America. 38% believe that we always like to be in charge. And 26% believe we have too much power in the business world. That's a lot of folks that we rub elbows with every day. The radical right does not hide its anti-Semitism. More than half of the anti-Semitic propaganda that now litters some city streets is from one source, the Goyim Defense League, an up-and-coming hate group associated with white supremacy groups. They blame us for the state of American immigration and employment, loose morals depicted in movies and TV, having too much power in government, and of course, being behind the supposed one world government, which will eventually subsume all nation states. What I found more surprising as a political liberal is the 41% increase in anti-Semitic incidents on college campuses. One example, 2 young ladies were thrown out of a rape support group because one had posted something pro-Israel on her own personal social media page, and the other had commented favorably. They were told that Zionism was not compatible with sexual assault recovery. The attacks from the left are generally due to some left-wing ideology and Jews' perceived role in them. The main sources for these incidents are the increasing presence of groups like Students for Justice in Palestine and the Red-Green Alliance on campuses. These groups promote pro-Palestinian narratives of the Israeli-Arab conflicts and perhaps more importantly, lobby hard to force the cancellation of pro-Israel events and speakers. Universities are bending over backward to not offend these groups. Anti-Semitism from the left is often, but not always, based on Jews' devotion to our homeland, Israel, the very land that this week's Torah portion focuses on. Quick history lesson. The Balfour Declaration, right after the Holocaust, dedicated a large chunk of colonized land in the Middle East, which was then populated by both Arabs and Jews, to form a Jewish homeland. When the land was divided, Arab countries told the Palestinians to leave the Jewish land, Jews did not. And many Jews were murdered by the fleeing Arabs, although popular knowledge says it was the Jews who were murdering and drove out the Arabs. Subsequent treaties whittled the Jewish part of this land down to about 20% of its original size, giving the rest of it to the Arabs. That land, set aside as a Palestinian homeland, somehow became Jordan. In each of the many wars that Israel had with her neighbors, Israel was never the aggressor, but it was always victorious, often gaining land and then giving it back to the attacking nations in exchange for promises for peace, which were rarely kept. Egypt being the exception. So now Israel has allowed the Gaza Strip to be self-governed by Arabs, but is fighting with settlements to keep the West Bank Israeli. Israel has lots of Arab citizens with equal rights to other Israelis, and yet Israel is consistently seen as stealing land from the Palestinians and being an apartheid state like South Africa was until recently by the left. This narrative has led to the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, in which universities and large companies are pressured by the left to not buy, collaborate with, nor invest in anything that comes from Israel. In fact, the Democratic Socialists of America chapter in New York City asked New York City Council members to not visit Israel for either official or personal reasons. Fortunately, this was soundly crushed by the New York City Council. That was 2020. Other motivations for anti-Semitism from the left include perceptions that Jews are money hungry and shrewd, we think we're better than other people, we like to always be in charge, and we stay apart from other groups. In other words, we're antisocial. One particularly painful direction this anti-Semitism is taking, and it's now being used by both the right and the left, is the way the Holocaust has been recast. The Holocaust is portrayed as just one of the atrocities that humans have inflicted on each other, without attention to the underlying anti-Semitism that fueled it. Lots of things are being compared to the Holocaust, including what Israelis are doing to Palestinians. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the congresswoman from Georgia, has compared mask mandates and proof of vaccination cards to be today's version of the yellow stars Jews were obligated to wear during the Holocaust. I even had a client tell me that her adult son's choosing to take the COVID vaccine was the equivalent of Mengele's experiments. Where does this leave queer-affiliated Jews if the right hates us and the left hates us? The right hates us because of our supposed leadership role in all their conspiracy theories, as they similarly hate us, people like us, for being and advocating for queer people who are supposedly leading to the downfall of society just by being and loving as fits our identities. But the left hates us for supporting a Jewish homeland where our ancestors lived and where a remnant of our population have always lived. And they hate us for being supposedly too capitalistic, money-hungry, rich white folk who have the audacity to claim that the Holocaust was not just another example of bad things that have happened in the world. Additionally, aside from, never mind. So what can we do? Silence doesn't usually help Jews to escape from anti-Semitism, nor do facts. Others have censored us, and we have so often censored ourselves. My father taught me in childhood, don't be the Jew who reinforces the stereotype. So I'm the one who always pays full price at the flea markets. Something that has recently come to my attention is changes historically made to the Aleinu prayer over the centuries. The original includes a line that says other religions worship gods who cannot save them. The prayer's authorship is attributed to Joshua, who succeeded Moses in leading our people, or at the very latest, the men of the Great Assembly during the time of the Second Temple. Since it was around before Christianity, it clearly is not referring to Christianity. However, one man who left Judaism for Christianity in about the year 1300 reported this prayer to church authorities, saying that it was anti-Christian. That was then used as an excuse to murder Jews all over Europe, despite Jewish leaders explaining to the church that the prayer was written before Christians existed. After that, these lines were hidden or removed from the Aleinu. Only in recent years have more traditional Jews brought them back into the service. As a Reformed Jew, I didn't know they existed until 3 weeks ago. Additionally, in the first paragraph of the Aleinu, we read that God has made us differently from other nations with a different place, a different destiny. Changes to these lines have also been made in the interest of not fueling Christian hatred. Others have resented and derided us for believing we are a chosen people. Reform Judaism, at least, went totally off script for those lines in the Union Prayer Book published in 1895. Reform Judaism has since brought the lines back, though with a bit of softening and several alternative translations. At our recent Beit Tikvah Siddur Revision Committee, we had a lively debate about how to translate these lines, how much softening to do to appease others, and how true to the text to be. Interestingly, we didn't even discuss re-including those lines about others worshiping gods who cannot save them. The sting of its consequences in our past were too great to even consider it. So, what can we do? Maybe we need to be the loud, pushy Jews, just as my father said, don't be. Jonathan Greenblatt, the CEO of the Anti-Defamation League, says that we need to call out anti-Semitism in politics and policies, especially if it is coming from our own side of the political spectrum. We need to pressure government leaders, as individuals and with groups like the ADL, to mandate Holocaust education in schools and anti-Semitism training for government employees. Of course, Florida schools aren't even allowed now to accurately represent African American history, so we've got a long way to go. We have to be willing to say in public that Israel's not an apartheid state and insist on language that doesn't just lump us in with every other minority group, some of which are very hostile to us in liberal circles. And we need to be willing to tell conservatives that yes, the Holocaust was a big deal, and Jews are not in charge of immigration in this country, and that guns actually do kill people in synagogues on a far too frequent basis, including right here in Pittsburgh. We need to be out, be visible, be involved in politics within our own political affiliations and beyond them. If I don't like how some elements of my beloved lesbian feminist community are dissing Jews for supporting supposedly apartheid Israel, it's up to me to speak my truth. It's up to me to go to local school board meetings to protest book bannings, educational curricula, and policies that harm Jewish or queer children, whether those moves are coming from my political party or its opposition. It's up to me to show up in the flesh to a senator or congressperson who minimizes the Holocaust and ask them where the other 3/4 of my father's family disappeared to. We need to say to the groups we're in, I agree with 95% of your positions, but on Judaism or on Israel, you're wrong. Some years back, Roz gave a drash here that really impacted many of us. I don't remember it all, but the take-home message was that there was nothing ish about our Judaism. We use the word Jewish to describe ourselves and other Jews often. It's a way of softening what we mean. I am not Jewish, no more than I am lesbian-ish, American-ish, or vegetarian-ish. I am a lesbian, an American, a vegetarian, and a Jew. This is a core identity I'm not willing to soften with my language anymore. As someone who passes for both non-Jewish and cis heterosexual, it's up to me to come out at appropriate times with people I know as someone who belongs to a group that they are dissing, as someone who thinks radically differently than they assume. When my conspiracy-ridden client compared her son's vaccinations to Mengele research, I lost my composure, perhaps though in the end it was for better. I told her she would never ever say that again in my presence, something we are never supposed to say as therapists. I told her that I have cousins who were the unwilling lab rats for Mengele's torturous twin studies. I never met them, but I have met the cousin who took care of them in their old age in Israel. Decades later, his eyes still fill with tears as he tells me that what they suffered, what he saw, is too horrible to speak about. It will go to his grave with him. The same conspiracy-ridden client told me that Jews, headed by George Soros, are deliberately bringing large numbers of Black and brown immigrants to the United States to take white people's jobs. That's the old Jews will not replace us mantra from the right. I told her that words like that get people like me killed. Indeed, that trope is one of the main reasons that 11 worshipers in 3 congregations were gunned down on an October Shabbat 5 years ago, right here in Pittsburgh. I think about the possibility of being shot every time I stick my neck out publicly, and especially every time I show up at a synagogue, a women's rights protest, or a GLBT event. I've instructed my sister that if I die in a hate crime, that fact must be spelled out and the hate must be specified in the first sentence of my obituary, and it must play a prominent role in my funeral service. I've also made a decision for myself just while writing this, that from now on, I'm going to wear a Star of David as many days as I possibly can. I don't want to be a martyr, but I also don't want to hide who I am or pretend that anti-Semitism is okay. These decisions may not be the right ones for you, but if you haven't already, start thinking about how you want to behave in the current worsening anti-Semitism. We are here at this moment in Jewish history. God instructed our ancestors coming into the Promised Land to be truly and declaratively present at their moment in Jewish history. I suspect that God would like us to do the same. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you for that. That was beautiful. I don't know how I can top that with just finishing up the service, but if you can join me, going to page 49. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to do the read part, and then when I pause, feel free to say names and such. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Sarah and Abraham, Rebecca and Isaac, Leah, Rachel, and Jacob, bless anyone who's sick.
Jonathan,
Jack,
Heather, and Bruce.
Along with all the ill among us and all those who have been touched by illness. Grant insight to those who bring healing, courage, and faith to those who are sick, love and strength to us and all who love them. God, let your spirit rest upon all who are ill and comfort them. May they and we soon know a time of complete healing, a healing of the body and a healing of the spirit. And let us say, Amen. All right, if we can turn to page 53 at the bottom. And let's read this together, starting with the people Israel. The people Israel do not count hours by the clock, or years by the constant sun. We link our lives to the rhythms of the earth. We count our days by the cycles of the moon. From darkness to light, from birth to death and born again, forever disappeared, in and out, the moon breathes, the soul of heaven. Well, we're going to go to the next page and do Alenu. If you would like to stand, that'd be great. If not, no worries. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Alenu Israel Adon HaKol Ate Gedula Yetzer Bereshit Shelo Asan Kedoye HaRatzot Velo Samanu Kenishmat Shelo Sam Elkein Yitvahem Vegor Malenu Kechochma V'anachnu korim u'nishtachavim u'modim Lifnei melech malchei HaMelechim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehu notei shamayim v'yosef haaretz Moshe mikaro b'shamayim ha'ad Ushkina tetzlo, ushkina tetzlo, Elohim Elohim, Eloheinu Eloheinu, Eloheinu Evesulato, Kakatu B'Torato, Yadata Hayom, Yadata Hayom, Hashivota Eloheinu. Ki Adonai Elohim Hashamayim Imam Me'aretz Mitas Eno Maybe seated. If you can join me going to page 57. And we're all going to read together again at the bottom. At the rising of the sun and at its going down, we remember them. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now part of us. As long as we remember them. All right. Turning to page 62. Do Mormons Kaddish, and I believe we can do yard sites here too. I do have a list of yard sites, and if I'm missing anybody by the end of that list, feel free to say it out. But as of right now, I have Arlene C., mother of Dana C., Mildred Falk, mother of Matthew Falcone, Abraham Singer, Howard Molans, Ida L., grandmother of Dana C., Richard M., father of Val M., Dolores P., aunt of Jack P., Bernie Dannenberg, Joni Perry, Annie Durhammer, grandmother of Beth W., David S., brother of Edie S., Albert G., father of Roz S., Jerry P., grandmother of Deb P. All right. Let's read together the Mourner's Kaddish on page 62, and please rise if you're able. Yikada v'yikadash b'nei rabbah, v'yamah v'yirach v'riteh v'yamid machmateh, v'yomechom v'chayeh d'kol beit Yisrael, v'gah v'zman karev v'yimru amen. Yehei shnei rabbah m'rak v'olam v'yamaya, Yisbarach v'yishabach v'yisfa'ar v'yisram v'yinaseh, v'yismadar v'yisaleh v'yisalal shmei v'kudusha Riku, Le'olim Bo B'Kata B'Shirata, Tushakata B'Nekamata, Damram Ve'Olam V'Imru Amen. Yehei Shalom Rachel Mishemaya, Lahim Aleinu Ve'Kol Yisrael, V'Imru Amen. Yosei Shalom V'Imru Yah, Yosei Shalom, Aleinu Ve'Kol Yisrael, V'Imru Amen. You may be seated. Turning to page 64, in honor of the new school year starting and all the students coming back and all that good stuff, I thought it was a good time to do the Serenity Prayer. It just feels appropriate. So join me on the top of page 64. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And in my case, that is knowing that there will be students crossing the roads in appropriate times and that my brakes do work. Amen. So let's conclude with a resounding chorus of Adon Olam. Oh, sorry, I got ahead of myself. It's my favorite song after Mika Mocha. Announcements time. Anyone have announcements? I don't.
I do.
Oh, brilliant.
Thank you so much for leading this. It is wonderful to see somebody new on our Bima, and so welcome to the club. Please lead services. What makes this congregation so wonderful is that somebody different leads every time, and we see and we get exposed to their way of being a Jew.
And if you're interested, you can contact me.
Right. Not
And we all promise that no matter what tune you bring forth, we will try our darndest to get it there.
You want me to announce the upcoming services? Okay. So we have our Rosh Hashanah service, which is the second night, not the first night, but Saturday the 16th here at 7:30. Then we have our Kol Nidre service, which is Sunday the 24th at 7 o'clock here. And then our Yom Kippur service, Monday, what is the date? Thank you. Yeah. At 4.
Hope to see everyone at Kol Nidre. It is my favorite service of the high holidays. There's no rhyme or reason for it, it just is, so I hope to see everyone there. Anything else? Going once? Twice? Onward to Adon Olam. That is on page 72, for anyone who needs some flippage. And again, I'll be relying on you guys because, again, the tune I learned was very different, and sometimes I confuse them in my head.
Sorry, sorry, it's a the glory sleep, oh, sleep, may not go see, may open, Yado, Angibruke, Yetisha, Ahira, Eirodi, Kavimasi, Adonai, Ira, Adonai,
Shabbat shalom, everybody.